All right, here we go, Elliot. Good evening and welcome to Wednesday Supper, brought to you by the Community Church of Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. My name is Tom Dickelman, and tonight I come to you via tape from Monday morning when I am sitting in a Holiday Inn Express on a gray and rainy day. I know you're not aware of me being a guy who has so much fun as that. Actually, I'm in Gainesville, Florida after a 16-hour, 1,100-mile drive yesterday from Lake Forest, which actually was pretty wonderful. I listened to Deepak Chopra. For some reason, I always want to call him Six-Pack Chopra, but I think that's probably disrespectful. And I listened to one of his books on tape, and a church service, and podcasts on golf and faith, and some humorous ones. I listened to the Bears' big victory, and I talked on the phone and generally had a great trip. It's amazing how different it is to do a road trip without animals and kids. And so I stopped in Gainesville, about 90 miles short of my destination of the north part of Tampa, about 11 o'clock last night, because if I would have continued to my sister's house, I just would have arrived too late. And I figured I'd never seen the University of Florida, so why not? So the question is, why am I here? Well, more on that in just a moment. First, though, I have 3 videos to share. I'd like to share just one of them out of the gate. First one made me smile a lot. It's homemade. It comes from the other night. It's a video that my great friend, Coach Craig Moreland, put together just for fun. He's down here visiting family. And Craig, the other night, while driving around with their daughter Margot, was amazed by some of the elaborate decorations people in Davenport, Florida, near Orlando, put out to celebrate the holidays. So here's Craig's video from Christmas 2020 in Central Florida. Okay, now we jump back in. Thank you, Craig. You know, one of the crazy silver linings of COVID, part of at least these last 9 or 10 months, has been that when Sean and I have either been forced to or made the choice to videotape our services in advance, it means that we have flexibility on Sunday morning to do the sorts of things that you all do, which is sleep in, read the paper, have a cup of coffee, watch CBS Sunday morning, play golf, hang out with the kids, work in the yard. It's all pretty nice. You see, I suppose I should have been smarter, excuse me, but no one ever told me that when you are a minister, you work like everyone else does during the week. But then, of course, you work Saturdays because that's when people are available. And of course, you work on Sundays because that's when you have church services. And then when the world takes a break on holidays, you know what? I'll be out in just about 15 minutes. I have a late checkout. Thank you. I think I just ticked off housekeeping. I got a late checkout. Anyway, so when it's holidays, it's busier than ever. So having the change of pace of having Sundays off, or free at least in the morning, to do a variety of other things has been really sweet. And yesterday, because I'd already taped the scripture and video and sent it to Ken Hall by midweek, I decided to take a road trip to Florida, primarily to visit my sister Sue, who's been battling brain cancer, as many of you know, for the last 4.5 years. And lately it's become increasingly challenging. And so I've been figuring out ways over the last 6 months how to get down here as often as possible and visit Sue and her wonderful husband Brian, and to help out in whatever way I can. As you might guess, those trips have been bittersweet and filled with an unbelievable range of emotions. Now, for the last 30 years or so, my mom has lived in Florida too, part-time during the winter, just north of Naples. That is until this last year, when she and her husband Ed decided to sell their condo in Florida and to sell their house or their place in Glen Ellen and to move to the Tampa area full-time to be closer to my sister and become full-time Florida residents. The problem is that when they came down here a year ago last month, they thought they'd just be coming for their typical winter season and then going back to Glen Ellen to sell their house and get their important stuff and bring it back to Florida. Well, as is the case with so many, COVID changed their plans and had other ideas. And so my mom's husband, Ed, who's 95, and my mom, whose nickname is Pengy, short for Penguin because she loves penguins, and who will be 90 in 2 months. Forgive me for sharing your age, Pengy. Have really none of the most important things of their life with them right now. It's all back in Glen Ellen. Important pictures, personal documents, sentimental items like my mom's favorite book, Mr. Popper's Penguins, which she first got back in the 1930s. They have no Christmas decorations or any sorts of things to make their new apartment feel like it's their home. And so, thinking about that, it struck me, why not turn my Ford F-150 pickup truck into a modern-day version of Santa's sleigh and fill the back with pictures and Christmas ornaments and Mr. Popper's penguins and whatever else I can fit in there. And so I went to Glen Ellen a few days ago and opened up the garage and then went into the house. And while I felt sort of weird going through all their stuff, I felt it was important to figure out what those things were that meant the most to them. And in the process, I ran across some really interesting kinds of things. Like I found a tired leather case in the basement, a little over a foot long and about that wide. And it was the kind of tired leather that actually is really cool. And it had my uncle's name on it and a sticker from the Delta Tau Delta fraternity, and then also a sticker from the Purdue where he attended. And when he was there studying architecture, I opened it up and found out that it was his slide rule from 80 years ago. And if you're under 30 years old, just Google slide rule and you'll find out what it is. And then next to that, in this other little box, file it under the creepy section, I opened up a tiny little box and there was a note and it said, "A lock of hair from Buddy's first haircut." It was my uncle, who's been dead now for some 30 years or more. It was a lock of hair from his first haircut. So it was kind of creepy for me, at least, running into his DNA from probably 95 years ago. If you get this, remind me to send it to my brother out in Des Moines for Christmas. And so going through their house, I saw a really sizable symbol of our family and our life together over the past 60 plus years. The dining room table that had been there for over half a century. We had shared so many memories, Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and birthday meals. And most of the time our family would get out Flair pens and draw on the white paper cover that was always placed over the good tablecloth. And it was then that I got the idea that maybe I could get that dining room table and a couple of chairs into the back of my pickup truck. Well, I measured and it clearly wouldn't be a fit. But then as I crawled around underneath the table, I figured out a way to dismantle it and get it back in the back of my Ford F-150 Christmas sleigh. And the truth is, the table was never designed to be dismantled, which I figured out as I dismantled it. The good news is I was able to dismantle it, get it in the back of the truck, and I think with glue and duct tape, I somehow should be able to remantle it, if remantle is even a word. Well, I guess I share this story knowing that full well that if circumstances were the same for most of you, that you would do the exact same thing if given the chance. But I also share the story because I know for so many of us there is much that is missing in Christmas this year. No Advent services together, no holiday parties, no downside, or our family events are downsized. There are no annual church Christmas gatherings at the brewery in Lake Bluff where we have a beer and sing together. I have a fuller, though, and deeper experience of Christmas this year, though, despite all those things missing, than I've had in a very long time. And I think it's because being part of a surprise, that's what's filled me with a sense of Christmas joy. Surprising my mom with stuff ranging from Mr. Popper's penguins to her dining room table. And it struck me in thinking about that, is that being the one thing that's different this year, that I'm part of a surprise. It struck me that in some ways is what Christmas is about. Christmas could also be called the Great Surprise, which began when Mary became pregnant, surprise, and had an out-of-wedlock baby, surprise, who was born in a barn, surprise, who grew up when he was 30 years old to not only change his community and his culture, surprise, but change the world for more than the next 2,000 years, surprise. And to get in the real spirit of things this COVID Christmas, I encourage you to do something surprising for someone, to celebrate the greatest surprise the world has ever known. Now, I'm about an hour and a half from my mom's house, and let's see if I can get her on the phone and let her know that I'm coming.
Good morning.
Hello, Pengy. How are you?
I'm very warm right now because the furnace was up and I've been moving around. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
okay.
I'm actually taping this, so don't say anything too weird. Not that you would. I'll explain later. But I just wanted to see if you're going to be. I'm in Florida, and I wanted to see. I am here, and I just wanted to see if you're going to be around this afternoon.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I've got some stuff for you, including a few surprises. So I'll look forward to.
Where are you?
I'm in Gainesville.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, you drove a lot yesterday.
I drove a lot yesterday, but it was a great trip, and
Good.
I will look forward to seeing you maybe around 2 o'clock, something like that, okay?
That'd be great.
All right.
Look forward to
See you
it.
in a while.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
That's Pengy. Whoops, there we go. And we'll see how it goes at her place. Now, a video that may bring a tear or two that is all about surprises. It's wonderful. You might get a box of Kleenex nearby. And then please play that video. Hopefully that will work. And then my guess is that video had a few of you reaching for a hanky or a box of Kleenex, just as I did. Friends, we're going to take a couple weeks off over the next 2 Wednesdays, as they are the eves of Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. I wish you grace and peace in the days ahead. If you are feeling hearty, please join us for our Christmas Eve service at the gazebo, rain or shine, or snow, or whatever, at 3 o'clock on Christmas Eve day. That will be a briefer than usual service because of the cold, but we'd love to have you join us. And finally, my great Christmas hope for you is that God's great surprise will find his way into your heart this Christmas. And now we close out with a final musical surprise that occurred in Nuremberg, Germany back in 2014. Merry Christmas. Okay.